Okay, perfect. I just wanted to first thank you so much for making this happen. I'm super excited for this.
Absolutely.
But can we start with you introducing yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Professor Shrader, and I work here at the University of Utah as a Cuomo professor. And so my main responsibility in that is I lecture a bunch of classes, a bunch of students.
That's perfect. Did you always know that you wanted to do economics or Cuomo?
No, I did not. I started my undergraduate journey thinking that I would become a medical doctor and a radiologist specifically, I was thinking.
Mhm.
That did not happen.
Yeah, so what along the lines helped lead you into Cuomo and economics rather than the medical school and stuff like that?
Yeah, so first I was really interested in math to the extent that even though I was started with the intention of being a biochemistry double major, and I needed to take my biology 101 course my freshman semester, they all of those courses conflicted with my next calculus course
Mhm.
and that I wanted to take. And I pointed this out to a professor of biology, I believe. And he said that I did not have to take any more calculus. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, yes, I do have to take more calculus. So they ushered me over to become a math major instead. And so I started as a math major. I kept that major the whole time and accidentally stumbled upon an economics class called the Dismal Science, which is named that because of Thomas Malthus predicting the starvation of humanity, with the limited resources of food given the exponentially increasing population. And so I accidentally happened upon that class and it was economics and I loved it. So that's what led me accidentally to economics.
That's really cool. So, right out of college, what was your like career goals? What did you kind of go into with economics? Like, what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, so I was interested in agricultural economics, specifically food economics, economics of how consumers choose their food. So it was really heavy in consumer choice, and it just naturally happened that I wanted to continue my education and weighing between a master's program and a PhD program, I just decided, I weighed all my costs and benefits and decided to do a PhD. So I had options. I was considering going to graduate school for German instead, but I think I'm too good of an economist and I understood the labor market for that was very slim. And there wasn't a whole lot I could do with German as many schools were closing their German programs. Um, so I went into economics.
Very cool. Have you found that like studying German has benefited you in any way, like career-wise or just life-wise? Like, do you still find
Um,
benefit at all out of that, or?
I do. Career wise, I don't know if it really presented itself much
Mhm.
other than just um, random German conversations with colleagues, which are really more enjoyable than professionally building or expanding. But life wise, it's been really fantastic having learned a foreign language and seeing just linguistic meaning behind a lot of things and similarities across cultures and differences. And I have made a lot of connections with the German language, with just other people's enjoyment of speaking and communicating in German. And what else? Yeah, so not so much professionally, but really, uh, really nourishing just
Hmm.
intellectually. So
Yeah, I can understand that. I do. I'm biliterate in ASL, so it's not something that like presents itself in many opportunities, but when it does, it's a cool thing to be able to have. It's kind of a fun bonding moment with when people like understand what you're doing.
yeah,
Um,
really.
yeah. So, what does a normal day to day in your career look like?
So normal, it does vary depending on which day, but I'll generally say getting to the office, making sure that all of my lecture material is ready to go, that I'm completely up to speed with what I've assigned my students to do. And then I'll spend a handful of hours lecturing however many different courses, whether it's two back to back, more or less. And then after those, usually have Cuomo major interviews. So I'm the assistant faculty director of the Cuomo major in the Cuomo program. So I'm one of three of us who interview prospective Cuomo majors. And part of the application process, they have to, one of the final points is an interview. And so we'll have anywhere between 1 to 4 interviews back to back of students. And then depending on the day, it might have then an independent study group. I have 3 students this semester studying, student-led, so collaboratively on their end, studying my agricultural economics, agricultural markets elective, moving that forward on their own. We'll meet with them for roughly an hour, and then might have other Cuomo faculty meetings. I sprinkle throughout my free time meetings with honors students who are writing their honors theses. So they're majors, they are seniors completing their degree and doing their honors thesis this year. And so moving them forward and all of that. And in any time that I do have, which is not much, sometimes I fit in, like tomorrow I will be attending virtually an agricultural conference hosted by, sessions presented by members of the USDA or other academics in agriculture. So yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. So you work at the University of Utah, clearly, but what like led you to the University of Utah? Why'd you choose here?
Yeah. So I and my husband and our first kid, we were all born and from, not our kids so much, but my husband and I are from Idaho Falls, 3 hours north of here. And I was really loving my position in California in the Central Valley, but it's not a place that my husband and I wanted to remain geographically. Unfortunately, I always talked about picking up my colleagues and my students, everything about my job, and moving it somewhere else, somewhere closer to the outdoors. Because we're in the Central Valley, which was roughly 3 hours away from anything outdoorsy that's not wandering agricultural orchards, which were beautiful, but not the mountains like I wanted. So I was there and keeping my eyes out for opening positions elsewhere. So I entertained opportunities in Oregon, in Colorado, and just kind of had my eyes open during the years I was there, even though I was liking my position. And then this one opened up in Salt Lake at the U, and I applied to it, optimistic, but not anything dire. I was getting tenure down there in California, which is a big deal for academics, for professors. But we didn't want to stay there. And the chair of the Cuomo division now contacted me days after I submitted my application and was really excited. And so this is a lecturer position, no longer tenure track, but it says it's career line, and they have convinced me, and I am still convinced that it is intended to be career line. So I'm hoping to stay here for the rest of my career, and I get to focus on teaching, which is what I love. So yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that kind of goes into the next question. I was just gonna ask, like, what are your career goals? Like, what do you see yourself doing down the line? Are things that you want to change, or do you kind of see yourself in this position till retirement?
Yeah, so I'm keeping it open-ended, like options open, but I am happy teaching and connecting with students. So looking into the future, I see more connection with Cuomo majors. I see our major and our division growing quite a bit. So I imagine I'll be keeping busy with the program and the major. But hope to keep teaching and keep connected that way. So I don't hope any drastically large changes. And yeah.
That's awesome. And then with Cuomo being a relatively new major at the University of Utah, do you see lots of opportunity for your Cuomo majors after they graduate in Salt Lake City, or is there enough opportunity in career fields here in Salt Lake, or what have you seen with your Cuomo majors in total?
Yeah. So our Cuomo graduates have opportunities to go a lot of places. Um, some of our students choose the route of graduate school, whether that's PhD, like MBA or some other masters in public policy or other types of masters. I do believe we've sent a couple to law school. So there's further education that's excellent. We set them up really well for qualifying for those, then qualifying for assistantships to even fund those graduate studies. And then otherwise, we have a lot of different paths. We have data analytics, and that's locally or, or farther away. And management consulting is one of the other big paths. A lot, not all, but a lot of our management consultants end up going to Chicago. And then we've sent some students off to policy, doing internships in DC, things like that. So all over the place, and it really opens up a lot of opportunities.
That's amazing. Going to the next question, I was going to ask, what are your favorite things about your job, and what are some of the things that you dislike?
Yeah, favorite things about my position, I really think is connecting with students. That's my favorite thing. And even though the base of the material that I teach remains relatively consistent, I love that it gets to be updated with current events. You know, there are always things happening in the world. So keeping that always fun and exciting and new, and students seem to really like learning and connecting theory to the real world. So I love that. Things that I don't love about the position, I feel like I have a lot of differing things on my to-do list, and so keeping track of all of those and limited hours of what I have in a work week. So
Right.
I don't know if I wish more time upon myself or more hours in a day, or if that would be exhausting. So not sure the solution to that one, but just a lot of things to keep track of.
Yeah, I get you. And if you feel comfortable sharing, you don't have to, but what are some hardships or mistakes that you've made in your career that you've had to learn how to overcome?
Um, I would say, although I'm not even sure I'm not certain if this is a hardship or something that I did wrong, but I wish I would have moved more of my past research forward more successfully. I still have a handful of projects that could move forward, but I don't have the time right now, and it's not valued so much in my position anymore. Um, so that's something that I just wish could have gone better 5 to 10 years back. That said, if I had done that, maybe I wouldn't have been as successful teaching and connecting with my students. So maybe I wouldn't have ended up in the same spot. So
Right.
yeah, research would be the one I'd say.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And then this is my last question, but if you had any advice for up and coming students like myself going into Cuomo or just going into business in general, what advice would you give them?
That advice varies so much from student to student, really. But one, if they were wanting to go into Cuomo or go into something quantitatively rigorous, I would advise to take the math classes that seem fun and interesting. So keep your math current. And then I have a list of absolutely recommended math courses, depending on, what route you wanted to eventually go. But otherwise to students in general, not Cuomo specific or anything, I would recommend to supplement all of the, good academic studying, which is, in my opinion, necessary. You've got to keep up on that, but supplement that with like things that take care of you. So whether that's hiking, going for walks and jogs outdoors, doing yoga, or doing things that are fun, like dancing or something, just forcing those things in that seem like self-indulgent, but that really take care of you and keep you who you are. So that would be my recommendation, is shove in some fun things to balance out and keep you enjoying everything while you're doing all the hard work.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a good find a balance between work and life and play, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything you've had to share, and I've loved getting to know you and getting to know your profession a little bit here in this interview. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
absolutely. And yeah, is this for, I think you mentioned it in the email, is this for an honors course or?
This is for the B Core trio for business scholars. It's for 1010, so it's like introductory business class. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
we were told to pick someone who we thought had an interesting career or something that we would potentially look into. And I was like, what better than economics? I'd love to, learn what it takes to be on the teaching side of it, because that's something I really want to kind of look into. So yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate you sharing. This is all something that I find super, super interesting. I love it.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you reached out.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chesney. See you in
Bye.